Hello, real writers. Chris here, trying to get back into the swing of doing tarot for writers readings. I took a break for a few months due to some stuff going on, major upheavals in my life, and started doing some journaling, some journal with me videos on my other YouTube channel. So I'll put a link to that in the description box if you'd like to join me for that. It was easier to do those for a while, and I wanted to keep my hand in with my channels. And so that is where it happens every Sunday afternoon, sometimes earlier in the day, sometimes later, depending on when I did the video and uploading and all of that. And I usually choose a card from one of my many decks. And although lately I've been called to choose more than one card, usually 3, sometimes 4, but it's usually 1, and we may go back to that soon. And then we journal on that card. And you don't have to journal exactly on the card. You can journal on whatever comes up for you because of that card. And I also do a little reading of it and share what's in the booklet that comes with the deck. Today I have yet another deck. I'm super addicted, and I think I have a couple of decks I haven't shared. I'm not sure. We'll see. But this is it's Colette Baron-Reid's The Good Tarot, and I love this deck because it's sort of a tarot oracle deck. There are no reversals. You read it. It's supposed to be empowering versus making things seem negative. And although it doesn't wholly shy away from the more not negative side, but not the uber positive side. It will have warnings and things to watch out for and things to focus on too. It's not like Pollyanna deck or anything, but it reads kind of like an oracle, which I find very friendly because the tarot deck is so big and so complex, and someday I'll get a handle on it. That's a goal of mine, clearly a life goal, but right now it's just not really possible. But I love this deck. I love Colette's decks, and she has a new one out. It's a crystal deck, which I probably will buy. And I have several of her other oracle decks, and the new goddess one, and the new spirit animal. Well, they're not really super new, but they're new enough. And there's a shaman deck I'd like to get as well. I just feel like she is the queen of decks, and obviously she is. She's so prolific. Today I've put out some stones for us that are related to creativity. Citrine is a great stone for that. Carnelian, sodalite. I have these here even if you can't really see them. Red jasper and tiger's eye. So we have those here with us. I'm burning some good fortune incense, and I've lit a Reiki charged creativity candle, and the purpose, which is orange, and the purpose of this candle is to address any imbalance in terms of feelings of being held back or inability to express oneself creatively. So even if you're feeling like you are in a creative groove, hopefully the vibe from this candle will cement that and make that even more powerful for you. So in case, there's a lot of sandalwood in this candle, which I like. So let's get right to the readings. We have 3 cards here, and we'll just go from left to right, and I will share from the booklet, The Good Tarot, which I should have shown you earlier. The artwork on these is wonderful. I find that I need good visuals in these decks. The traditional Rider-Waite deck doesn't really work for me in terms of tarot, and this is my 3rd tarot deck. I mostly go for oracle ones. So, but if the artwork is very inspiring, then that really helps me a lot. So, pick your card. left, middle, or right, or 1, 2, 3 from the left to the right. If you need a stone, let's do sodalite, red jasper, and tiger's eye. So if you're drawn to a stone instead, pick your stone and that's your card. And let's start. Ooh. Okay, so here we have the 10 of Earth. And the colors are very true on camera. And so we'll give you a little closer. Sorry, it's very reflective. Sorry about that. They're very glossy, so they're reflective. I mean, that if I could have one suggestion is to make them more matte. But you can see there's a treasure chest here and a wolf and a woman with, well, she has sort of twigs in her hair, and she's sort of, I think she has a sort of lioness kind of look to her, but she also has wings, so that suits the imagination quite well. So 10 of Earth, let's read from the booklet, and then I'll give you my impressions. Let me find it. Let's share a bit about the suits, though, from Colette's perspective. In traditional tarot, this suit is the Pentacles and is associated with material wealth and manifestation in the world of form. In the good tarot, the suit of Earth has the same associations, but we also connect it to the 3 other suits and how our mental, spiritual, creative, and emotional experiences have produced tangible results. The Earth suit represents an observable truth, namely that everything we think, feel, believe, and create will eventually manifest in the world of form. What we experience in this realm is the result of choices we made in the past, whether we made them consciously or unconsciously. So we're already off to a good start, right? So, creativity is all about thinking and feeling and believing and imagining. And this is saying that these things will manifest and that we have a role in co-creating them. So let's go to the 10 of Earth. And the keywords here are affluence, material abundance, mastery, financial security, inherited wealth, and knowledge. And Colette writes these in first person as a sort of affirmation, the description of the card, so I will read it to you. I am now able to step back and observe the results of what I built through my dedication and hard work. I claim ownership of the castles I built that have taken form in the material world. I've achieved mastery and inherited treasures of knowledge and experience thanks to all I have been through. I smile appreciatively at my run of good fortune. Sorry, braces, you guys. Braces sometimes distort what I'm saying. Sorry. So, the answer to the question of will I be a success as a writer is yes, if you chose this card. So my impressions of this card, it's, as the description said, it's time to reap the rewards of your hard work, but you can only reap those rewards if you put in the hard work. Ground yourself. Yes, you can have, obviously you want to marry the imagination to the hard work, hence the wings. But you have to be a bit disciplined, hence the wolf. There's a wolf in here, if you can't really see it. Normally this is 2 white dogs, but here it's a wolf. So there's sort of not a taming of the wolf, but a slight domestication of the wolf, or an understanding with the wolf, a mutual understanding where the two, coexist peacefully. The wolf takes this woman's lead, and so the imagination leads, but the hard work is what manifests your writing into the real material world. So your efforts will pay off and you will be seen as an authority. However, you have to keep a long-term view here. You need to be grounded. Don't take shortcuts. Learn your craft. Practice. And practice means sometimes you write things that aren't going to go anywhere. And that's not failure, that's just practice. You can work with someone. You could work with an editor who could mentor you or help you see the flaws in your writing or the weaknesses that you need to work on. Do your homework, not just in terms of craft, but also in marketing and publishing, what's going on out in the world. Ground yourself in the reality, in the real world, in the real publishing world. See what others have done that appeals to you. Read widely and wildly. I was going to say wildly. Read wildly as well. Go off the map there and read things that you might not otherwise read. And here comes the incense smoke across the screen. Nothing's on fire. It's just some of the incense smoke due to the air conditioning. But as my channel says, keep it real. Be a real writer. No shortcuts. Do the actual work. Ground yourself in research if that is what's required for your piece, but also craft, books on craft. Follow agents and publishers online, on Twitter and other places. Get Publishers Marketplace or Publishers Lunch, depending on one is free and one costs, I think, $25 a month. If you're self-published, to see what's being published out there and what people are buying, if that's the route you want to take. But if you're self-publishing, it's even more important to work with two people, an editor and a book designer. You can't put out a book that looks self-published, and you can't put out a book that reads self-published. Editors are even more important in that case because you're not working with a traditional publisher, and even small presses can't really do much along the lines of helping you edit your book, although they probably will require that work. So again, think long term, do the hard work, and your writing will last the test of time and you will succeed. So that's very positive. Hooray for you. Let's go on to card number 2. Ooh, the Magician, who looks a lot like Santa Claus. That could be distracting or I don't know, reinforcing. It's up to you how you feel about that. Santa Claus does bring the things we most desire, right? So that's a good thing. So there's sort of a ball of light in his hands. Different kinds of lights gathered into a ball in the hands of the Magician. So let's see what the Magician card says here in the booklet, and then I will share what I know of it as I'm learning tarot. And there's a long introduction here. So, Magician is about alchemy. So that's perfect for a writer, isn't it? Alchemy. You're turning the intangible, imaginative, abstract world into written language that also then, by the virtue of reading it, becomes the abstract, imaginative, abstract, did I say abstract? Pardon me, said that twice. Intangible, new world in the reader's head. So it passes through translation several times, translating from your mind to the reader's mind, and everyone, both the reader and the written word and the author, contributing to that process. I've always considered writing alchemy. I think that's wonderful. So here's the first person description. When I am in alignment with Spirit's will, miracles are possible. When I see this card, I'm reminded that my will and skill alone will yield limited results. When I remember my partnership with Spirit, all is well. I wonder if she meant unlimited, that my will and, okay, I see. My will and skill alone will yield limited results. I see. So she's saying, when I remember my partnership with Spirit, all is well, and will yield those unlimited results. Okay, she's not actually saying it, but that's what she means. I'm required to explore my commitment to this co-creative alchemical relationship and see the results manifest beautifully. Through me, Spirit works magic. So there's an element of of trust here with imagination, and maybe what I'm taking away from this booklet reading is that you might need to go with the flow a bit more and trust in the magic, and maybe pull back a bit from having too much control over your work, or being too disciplined that you're not allowing enough cracks for the light to get in. You, by will and skill alone, are not going to completely be able to pull off whatever the project is you're working on. You have to allow for that sort of, I don't know if it makes you feel more comfortable to think of collective unconscious. You're going to have to let some of that, I don't want to say otherworldly, I don't know, depending on that magic to come in from your subconscious or your unconscious pathway from the collective unconscious, shall we say. But just that, because we don't use all of our brain. We use a very small amount of our brain, and there's so much untapped, it's like a universe in there. So you have to let go of things a bit to allow for something magical to come through from, if you're only comfortable with thinking of your brain to come through. If you are comfortable with thinking of a collective unconscious or spirit or source or whatever, or inspiration, divine inspiration, then you need to let go a bit. Stop clutching your work so hard or your vision so tightly that you're not letting it come to life on its own to participate with you in the magical alchemical process. Because once you start creating something, it takes on a life of its own. You all know this. Whether you're writing poems or essays or songs or books, it becomes its own thing. And you have to honor and respect that. So this is telling me, if you will allow for a bit more magic and breath and life and spirit, and partner with the project versus you ruling and controlling the project, then you will be successful. So let me see. Other things I want to say about this card is that it highlights your talents and capabilities, and that will contribute to your success. So like I said, you want to let things flow a bit more. Make the highest, best use of your potential and power as a writer. And, don't just use writing. Be a real writer. That's my channel here. Be a real writer, and that means you have to have passion for writing, whether you ever succeed in it or publish or send songs out into the world, or essays or poems or whatever. You have to want this. It has to be part of you as a creative being, to be a real writer. It can't just be about fame and money. It can be about both of those things, but if it's just about fame and money, then it's just a vocation, like any other, instead of doing investment banking or retail or, I don't know, hotel management or something. You're a writer. You have to enjoy it. You have to love it. It has to be something about it you love. Readers will still buy books that are full of action and maybe not feeling a sense of the author in the books. They'll still buy them, and you can still succeed, but it's so much more satisfying if you really love it and care about it and put your soul into it. And again, it's a good balance between craft and creativity. You have to balance that out. And you can still make money at it. This card is saying that, it's balancing your inner and outer world. So your desire for this, write the book that you, or the book or the poem or whatever, the essay that you want to write that's important to you, keeping the market in mind, keeping your understanding of how readers read and how books work or poems work or short stories work or essays or whatever, do the work, but add your own special uniqueness to it. And the success will follow. Be you. You're the, quote, unique world of your writing. And then within the structure and framework of craft and publishing and editing and marketing and all those things you need to know, balance those two things so that you are making the most of that information and those resources. This to me also says, this is the first card, technically, the Fool is 0, which is like new beginning, but this seems to say, go now, take action. Here's the light, here's the fire, here's the light, now use it. So if you're thinking of starting a project now, start it. Take action now. No more dreaming. If you've been too dreamy, no more dreaming. Take some action now. But this says you have what you need to be successful. So I'm going to say, yes, you will be successful as a writer. So awesome. Let's move on to the next card. Oh, the Emperor. There's the Emperor. Let's get a little closer so you can see it. Can't quite make out. Oh, that's a sword. Okay, and this lion is wearing sort of like, not chainmail, but gold, pure gold. And there seem to be feathers in here. I'm not totally sure, but there's an armor as well. And the armor seems to be made of gold. So that is a positive sign, is it not? So let's find the Emperor, which is number 4. The Emperor is authority. Here's the description in first person. Following the rules right now is exactly what I should be doing. People in authority come to my aid and give me good advice when I ask for it. I can have the strong confidence that this card suggests. Dealings with institutions like banks, governments, or schools are also highlighted at this time. Well, okay. I'm not sure how to read the last part as a writer, unless banks, money, great, yes. Governments, I've said this before in other readings, but state arts councils have grants for writers. A lot of them do, whether it's specifically a grant for a writer or a project grant. So look into that. You can just Google state arts councils and you'll find a list. You can go to the National Assembly of State Arts Agencies website, NASA, NASAA, National Assembly of State Arts Agencies, and they have a map, and you can click on the state that you live in and find their website. Schools. You could also go into schools as a teaching artist, by the way. If you don't know that, many state arts councils, I think most of them, I think almost all of them, who am I kidding? Because I used to work for a state arts council. They have arts education programs and they send artists into schools to work with students in different degrees of arts education and arts integration. And they also have, many of them have teaching artists, professional development for teaching artists that can teach you how to do that. So if you're looking for another career, or maybe you're retired and you want to share your writing and your skills, you might consider going into schools as a teaching artist, as a writer. So I detoured a bit on that last sentence, so I will reread this again. Following the rules right now is exactly what I should be doing. People in authority come to my aid and give me good advice when I ask for it. I can have the strong confidence that this card suggests. So the other card prior to this, if you are only looking at the card you chose, was the Magician, in which I said you need to go with the flow some more, that you might be holding too tightly to what you want to do and your end goal, and not allowing enough cracks for the light to get in. And what I'm going to say for you is that you need more order and discipline and control. So the Emperor stands for experience, authority, order, determination, and ambition, and leadership and control. And this card is about creating systems and structure and order for imparting knowledge. So it's about discipline. This is an opportunity for you to grow as a writer, to level up. Maybe you've just been flying by the seat of your pants and winging it and just writing when you felt like it, when you had this need in your heart to express yourself, but you've never actually done anything with it or pulled anything together into a short story or a poem or an essay or a collection or a book or whatever, or put anything out to publish. And now this card is saying, if you want to succeed as a writer, you have to get down to business. Okay, so maybe you're not seeing yourself as a real writer. You're just sort of seeing yourself as a hobbyist or a dabbler or something like that. And you really want to write, you're really into it, if you're writing and you're passionate about it, whatever your goal in the end, you are a real writer, okay? If you love it, you are. But if you want to be a success, which implies being out there in the world, sharing your work, selling books, giving readings, being asked to tour, or going on a book tour, other things, and someone just came into my building very loudly. I hope you guys couldn't hear that. But if you want to be out there making money as a writer and being seen as a success, as an authority, and having people read your work, then you have to marry your creativity with discipline. So in your case, you would be just a little bit less fluid and in the flow and find some order here, right? So set some small goals for yourself. Maybe pick days and times that you're going to sit down and write and stick to it. Once you've decided what you want to do. So let's backtrack a little bit. What do you want to do with your writing? What is your goal as a writer? Do you want to finish one short story and send it out? Do you want to finish 3 or 5 short stories and send them out? Do you want to pull some bits and pieces of poems into a collection, or 10 poems and send them out? Maybe you want to create a portfolio to apply to an MFA program. By the way, in case you don't know this, there are low residency MFA programs where you can go twice a year and the rest of the time you work online and by mail and by phone with your advisor, your thesis advisor, or whatever each institution calls it. In my day, it was thesis advisor or your thesis committee. So, or any professors you were working with. So if you don't want to you can't move somewhere and go to school, or where you live doesn't have an MFA program that you're interested in, you could do a low residency one, by the way. So that's an option. But set the goal for yourself. What is your goal? And then break it into small parts, and then focus on meeting those goals. How you can set a timeline for that, like a deadline if you want. But if not meeting that deadline is going to be disheartening for you, just be generous with it. Say in 3 months or 6 months, this is what I'm going to do, or a month, or whatever you feel gives you enough time. If you're working on a collection or a book or whatever like that, create an outline of your work. Sit down and plot it out. Whatever it is, look at the arc of your book, look at the arc of your poems if you put them in a certain order, reorder them, play around, look for themes, look for gaps and how you can write into those gaps. That works for essays too, and short stories as well, whether you're, if you're connecting like a novel and stories or something like that, you might look for the gaps. Short story collection that has a theme is always really great because you're following a kind of theme, and that's something that keeps the book cohesive in its way. If you're really starting from scratch and all of these ideas are too intimidating for you, just go buy some craft books and start working your way through the craft books. You might consider focusing on what you know to be your weakness as a writer. Maybe it's writing dialogue, maybe it's plotting, maybe it's characterization, and just work on that for a while. You can start a writing group where you cheer each other on to your specific goals and give feedback, but make sure it doesn't become this social thing where you do more chatting and drinking wine or whatever than you do actual work. The focus should be on the work, on the feedback, on discussing your goals and steps to reach them, and how you can support each other and resources and things like that. Have definite goals for that, or it really can just devolve. And I think I'm going to do a video on that on my other channel, on it's Chris Stewart, Real Writer, and the link is in the description box. And I think I'm going to do a video on how to create and run and end a critique group. You can also work with an editor. Like I'm an editor. I sometimes mentor writers through projects if they have a specific project. You can also find others who will mentor you through just working through craft versus having an end result project. But working with an editor can really help you organize and focus and guide you through you're changing your weaknesses into strengths. So that's an option as well. But clearly, you're the emperor, top of the heap here, right? Top of the food chain. Through this work, you will become an authority. You will master your craft, and then obviously you can't help but be a success. So I would say the answer to all of these cards has been yes. You will be a success for different reasons and in different ways. So that's it for today. I'm going to turn all of these around, and if you're attracted to any of the others, go back and listen to that reading. Some of them are longer than others, depending on what comes to me. So I hope this was helpful. I hope that it was inspiring. And if you have any questions or comments, please share them below. Please like and subscribe. And I'm going to try to put out more regular videos. I will try. Join me on my other channel for the journaling sessions that happen on Sundays. I'll be posting tomorrow afternoon another session. And I'm always here for any other questions you have about editing and writing. Feel free to email me. My email address is therealwriter@gmail.com. And if you're looking for an editor, get in touch. You can email me, or you can go to my website, www.therealwriter.com, and fill out the query form on the first page. And you can also look on the editing and critique services page for more details about what I do and fees. And also there's a query form there too if you want to fill it out. It helps me get a head start on what you're doing with your work and how I can best help you. And then we can have a phone call to discuss your project and see if we're the right fit for each other. Because I really love helping writers, and I work with both published writers and those just starting out and everyone in between. So I love the challenge, and it's also good for me to be reading what is out there, what people are working on, and what they really need help with, so I can tailor my guidance to that. So thanks everyone. Happy writing.